What haven't you forgiven yourself for? Story 1. Treating the girl I dated in college like absolute garbage. Just brutal. I'm 36. Happily married with 2 beautiful, healthy children. Good career, no complaints. And the girl is now a grown woman who started her own company and has done extremely well for herself and is happily married as well. But every time I think about what an absolute dog shit human I was during that time, I get sweaty and my heart rate shoots up. I want to apologize to her one day, but I know that it's just for my own conscience and wouldn't benefit her at all, so no point in making that attempt. Just some shit I have to deal with in therapy. Story 2. I feel like there were lots of moments where I had the power to prevent future disasters, and I didn't, because I didn't know what would happen. Of course, it's not my fault, but it will always haunt me, especially when it's not me not doing something I could, but preventing something that was about to happen. There was this girl. I thought I was sparing her pain, preventing her from confessing her feelings to a taken guy. Only did I know his relationship was about to fall apart, and he had loved her for a few years already. By the time he broke up with his almost fiancée, this girl got into another relationship purely to fight loneliness. Now the table turned, and it was her who was taken. They became close, they kissed, and she went out of her mind, trying to cover it up and not lose her boyfriend. He was a very popular person, and she was flattered to have him. She accused the guy of molesting her. She was a bitch, and their relationship would have failed anyways, but at least the man who is now my best friend wouldn't have to go through the sheer suffering of being framed in sexual assault. I was the first to believe him, the first to console him, and I know he's grateful. I know he values me highly, but I just can't shake off the feeling that it was me who caused this. Story 3. When I was 19, I had a chance to study abroad in South Korea. My then boyfriend did not want me to do it because he didn't want me to leave. I wrestled with the option for a week before deciding to stay. I went to see him and let him know I was staying, and he became a monster. Verbally abused me for even considering it, choked me out to the point I passed out, kept me locked in his room, starved me, stole my phone so I couldn't contact anybody about what was happening, drugged me, and raped me multiple times in my drug-induced state sleep. Eventually, my sister came to find me and was looking for me everywhere. I found out I was locked in his room for a week and a half, missing classes, and my parents had reported me missing to the police because I wasn't responding to their texts and calls. She took me home and I never went back to school. Left after that 1 semester. I should have just went to Korea. Story 4. I haven't forgiven myself for not taking the chance to express my feelings to a close friend when I had the opportunity. I regret not being more honest and open, which might have changed the course of our relationship. Story 5. Not realizing sooner that my ex was a predator, with his sights on the children in my circle. Eventually, I found evidence and called police immediately. I just feel like I should have seen something in him sooner. That was 4 years ago, less than a month after our 6th wedding anniversary. The evidence I found was from crimes committed 3 years prior. I can't stand that I kissed him and loved him and slept in bed with him every night for those 3 years while he knew what he had done, and I was clueless. Therapy has been a lifesaver. I've stopped blaming myself for a lot of things related to this situation, but I was the one left behind to deal with all the fallout and all the hurt. It's hard not to accept blame when it seems like you are saddled with more consequences than the person who broke the law. He's never had to face any of the people he violated, directly or indirectly. He got to go home to his parents, where he was embraced and spoiled while I was left trying to pick up the pieces. He's in prison now as a sex offender against children, so I'm sure he's finding some different types of consequences. I would never undo our marriage if I could because my daughter is supposed to be, but I can't help but feel that I should have seen something sooner. Story 6. Getting so drunk, That I was rushed to the ER and saying I want to kill myself and having my parents, who I'm not close with, have to come and stay watch over me. It didn't change the relationship between them and me at all, but it feels like a weird chapter of life for me where I felt most shameful. Story 7. Not pushing a lot harder for spinal surgery sooner than, if you don't get the surgery now, you will die. I got told that I had spinal stenosis at age 36. I ousted for it to get operated on and was told that I wouldn't have to worry about it until I was in my 60s. Sure enough, I was rushed to hospital on my 39th birthday with cauda equina syndrome. My lower spinal cord and nerves had crushed my bowel and bladder, and I had to have life-saving surgery. 5 years later, and I'm essentially medically retired, have a ton of nerve damage in my back, bowels, and bladder. I've lost a lot of my motor function. I am one of the lucky ones, as 2/3 of people who experience this are in a wheelchair, paralyzed. Story 8. Drunkenly posting my spread eagle butthole on LinkedIn. Story 9. I let my dog ran away in our backyard thinking it was safe. Never did I know there was a stray dog there carrying the distemper virus. They fought, and after that, my dog isn't well anymore. I carried him to the vet, but still, he died in my arms. I could never forgive myself till this day. If only I haven't released him, there would still be someone waiting for me whenever I got home from work. Story 10. Starting drinking. I gained weight. I burnt bridges. I've worked drunk before. I haven't been the best parent. I stayed in super toxic relationships, and I messed with my already fragile mental health. 22 days without alcohol. This is my first time deciding to quit versus moderate. Moderation has never worked for me, so sobriety it is. I've lost 10 LABs, and my resting heart rate is down from 67 to 70 weekly average to 55. I just wish I had never started to begin with. Story 11. Thinking I was too cool in high school for my best friend growing up that was there, with his family, from the time we were in the 3rd grade. They even had a surprise birthday party for me one year when my mom was in the hospital. I'll never forget the look on his face when he said hi to me in the hallway one day, and I stared blankly at him because I didn't want anyone to see me socializing with him. I haven't had a chance to apologize and will never forgive myself, even though I know he will instantly, if I ask. Story 12. Me and my wife were in Vegas in 2001 and were walking back to our hotel, and someone put a sign on the pavement right in front of us as we were passing saying, "Prince tonight," and nothing else. I can't recall which hotel it was, but we walked up to the counter, we were literally the first people there, and asked, is that Prince? Like, Prince, the singer, playing here, tonight? And we're told yes, it was Prince doing a one-off, unannounced, small, intimate show. Tickets were $99, which was pretty steep for the time, and we had already spent loads. My wife said, "Shall we think about it?" So we went to get a drink. 5 minutes later, while sipping a beer, I said, "Fuck it, what am I thinking? Prince in Vegas would be amazing. Let's get tickets." I legged it back to the counter, leaving my wife in the bar, but it had sold out. So yeah, I had the chance to see arguably one of the greatest musicians of the modern age in a tiny venue, but thought it was a little expensive, and so missed out. I cringe every time I think of it. Story 13. I have never forgiven myself for 2 years of me being silent when I was verbally being bullied by a customer. Then one day, after a particular bad morning of being soaked by rain and lorries splashing me up and some unfortunate accidents that were small in themselves but really ground my gears this particular day, he started to belittle and talk me again, every week for 2 years, and I said nothing. Not a peep. But this day he said I wasn't a man because I didn't defend myself and wanted to know why. So I stared into his eyes without blinking and calmly said, "No need to, you are older than me, so you will die first." With that, he just turned around and went away. So what you may say, Well, it turns out he died the next day. And according to his neighbor, he was scared of meeting his creator after all he put me through. Moral is don't take the mickey out of short people who are quiet. You can burn easily. Story 14. When I was 8, I used to sneak out to lay and play in the rain. One night, I ended up falling asleep. The next morning, my mom is panicked trying to find me. She looks out the back door and sees my lifeless body outside. Once she wakes me and finds out I'm okay, she's livid. She couldn't look at me for a week without crying. It's been 16 years, and I'll never forget the panicked and scared look on her face that morning. Story 15. I bullied a girl out of school when I was little. I was being a mean girl and not letting her hang out with us, which in a class of like 25, private school, is terrible. In retrospect, I was very jealous of her huge house and all her stuff BC she was rich. Her mom lit into me one day screaming, which I vividly remember since it was scary, but I def deserved it. She switched to our high school about JR year and had friends, was very pretty, academically inclined, so I think she ended up happy. I turned out to be a depressed alcoholic with 0 friends most of my life, so that's some karmic justice. I hope she's doing well. I think often about contacting her, but I would not want any of my childhood bullies to give some lame apology about shit that happened years ago. I don't understand why I was such a bitch. She was a really good friend to us all. I don't know.